Chaos has erupted in Atlanta tonight as shocking footage surfaces of King Harris, the son of rap legend T.I., being arrested inside a hospital ICU. Yes, you heard that right. While allegedly recovering from a fake brain surgery that has now been exposed by the FBI. The internet is on fire, fans are in disbelief, and the Harris family is spiraling into total meltdown. Witnesses claim federal agents stormed into the hospital just moments after. Doctors announced King's successful operation, only for investigators to reveal that the entire surgery may have been staged. Rumors suggest that King had faked the procedure to escape criminal charges, while others say this was part of a much darker cover-up involving his father's empire. But things took a shocking turn when the FBI reportedly uncovered medical fraud, hidden money trails, and falsified hospital documents, all leading straight to King's ICU room. Fans are flooding social media, asking, was King Harris really sick, or was this all a performance gone wrong? Emotions are running high, the family is silent, and the truth may be more explosive than anyone imagined. Stay tuned, because what happened inside that hospital room is beyond anything we've seen before. The scene opens with chaos outside Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta. Flashing police lights, media vans, and a restless crowd form a circle of tension around the building. Reporters are screaming into their microphones. Fans are crying, and the sound of sirens cuts through the night like a warning. King Harris, only recently declared stable after what the family described as a high-risk brain surgery, is now at the center of one of the most unbelievable scandals the entertainment world has ever seen. Just 2 days ago, the entire internet had been flooded with posts praying for King's recovery. Clips of him lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to wires, had gone viral. Ty and Tiny were seen outside the ICU looking devastated. Fans had sent flowers, gifts, and emotional tributes. But tonight, those same fans are watching live as federal agents march into that same hospital, holding a warrant with King's name on it. The accusation: medical fraud, obstruction of justice, and staging a fake medical procedure to avoid an upcoming court appearance. It all started weeks earlier when King found himself in trouble again after a late-night altercation outside a club in downtown Atlanta. Witnesses said it was a routine argument that escalated when King allegedly threatened someone who filmed him. The next morning, videos surfaced online showing him yelling at police officers. It wasn't the first time King had clashed with authority, but this time, the situation was different. According to court documents leaked later, there was an active warrant for his arrest related to an unrelated fraud investigation. That's when the timeline began to twist. 2 days after the viral video, King was suddenly rushed to the hospital. Ty released a statement saying his son had suffered a medical emergency due to extreme stress and brain complications. Fans believed it instantly. Everyone sent love and sympathy. News outlets covered the story as a tragedy. Yet, behind the scenes, whispers began spreading among hospital staff. Something about the situation didn't add up. The medical files seemed inconsistent. The doctor's name listed on the reports couldn't be verified by the hospital's official registry. One nurse even claimed she never saw King being prepped for surgery, despite his family insisting he had undergone a major operation. By the end of that week, rumors exploded online. Bloggers began posting screenshots, claiming that King's surgery was staged. One tweet read, "Notice how there's no IV connected properly? Something's off." Another user commented, "This looks like a photo shoot, not a surgery recovery." The hospital refused to comment, and the family maintained that King was recovering peacefully. However, the silence from Ty only made things worse. His longtime friend and collaborator, Killer Mike, posted and deleted a cryptic story that read, "Not everything you see on TV is real. Even hospitals got scripts." What fans didn't know was that federal investigators were already digging deeper. According to sources, the FBI had received an anonymous tip suggesting that someone in the Harris camp had bribed a medical official to falsify documents proving King's hospitalization. Investigators tracked suspicious payments routed through shell companies linked to Ty's business manager. Each transaction seemed to lead closer to the family. And as days passed, more inconsistencies emerged. Fake patient records, conflicting medical reports, and even evidence that King had been seen outside the hospital on the same day his family claimed he was in surgery. Then came the night of the confrontation. Around 9 p.m., T.I. arrived at the hospital surrounded by bodyguards. Eyewitnesses say he looked tense, constantly pacing the hallway, talking on the phone, whispering with his lawyer. Tiny arrived shortly after, visibly shaken, clutching her phone tightly. Fans gathered outside, assuming the worst about King's health. What they didn't realize was that the FBI was already in the building, preparing to make an arrest. A nurse later described what happened next. "It was like something out of a movie," she said. "They came in, showed their badges, and told everyone to step back." Ty looked stunned. Tiny started crying. They went straight into the ICU. Inside that room, King was awake, sitting up, phone in hand. According to hospital staff, he was arguing with someone on FaceTime moments before the agents entered. "King Harris," one agent reportedly said, "you are under arrest for falsifying federal medical records and obstructing an ongoing investigation." King laughed. "What are you talking about?" "I just had surgery, bro." The agent looked around the room and said calmly, "You didn't have any surgery." The room went silent. Tiny gasped. Ty tried to speak but couldn't form words. King's eyes widened as the reality began to set in. Meanwhile, outside, reporters caught wind of the commotion. Live broadcasts began cutting from entertainment segments to breaking news. One anchor said, "We're hearing reports that King Harris is being detained inside his hospital room by federal agents. This is developing fast." Fans on Twitter went wild, posting messages like, "No way this is real," and "King faked brain surgery? What's going on with this family?" As officers escorted King out of the hospital room in handcuffs, Ty reportedly tried to intervene. "My son's not well," he shouted. "He's been through enough. Let us handle this privately." But the lead agent replied, "Sir, this is beyond you now." Tiny was crying uncontrollably, begging them not to take her son away. "Please, he's just a boy," she said, but it was too late. Cameras flashed as King was pushed through the hallway, covering his face with his hand. Some fans screamed his name. Others booed. One woman shouted, "We prayed for you, King!" As the doors closed behind him, Ty stood motionless, staring at the floor. Insiders say that was the first time anyone had ever seen him truly defeated. His usual confidence was gone. His voice cracked as he turned to Tiny and whispered, "They played us, babe. Somebody set us up." But behind that grief, there was something else. Fear. Ty knew the investigation didn't stop with King. The documents the FBI had found connected multiple people close to the family, including associates who had access to their financial accounts. The story was bigger than anyone imagined. Hours later, as King sat in custody, the internet exploded. Hashtags like "fake brain surgery" and "King Harris arrested" trended worldwide. YouTube commentators rushed to upload videos breaking down every detail. One clip, claiming to show the moment the FBI entered the hospital, hit 2 million views within an hour. And then came the biggest twist of all. An anonymous source leaked a voice note allegedly recorded between King and a family insider days before the arrest. In it, King could be heard saying, "They'll never find out. I just need time to disappear for a bit. Tell Pops to chill." The leak sent shockwaves across social media. Suddenly, everyone was questioning whether the entire medical drama had been a calculated stunt to buy King time before his impending court hearing. Bloggers speculated that Ty himself might have helped orchestrate the cover-up, though no official charges had been filed against him. But what truly shocked everyone was the hospital's response the next morning. Their official statement read, "After reviewing our records, we have determined that there was no authorized brain surgery performed on an individual named King Harris during the reported time period." Fans were left speechless. If the hospital was denying the surgery, then what exactly had happened in that room? Was King pretending? Were the doctors in on it? Or had someone else created an elaborate illusion to protect him? As the headlines spread, more questions than answers began to surface, and one thing was clear. The Harris family was now facing the biggest crisis of their lives. But the story was only getting started. The following morning, chaos rippled across every news outlet. The footage of King being taken away in cuffs was replayed on every major channel, slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed from every possible angle. Reporters outside the hospital swarmed Ty and Tiny as they exited, shielding their faces from the blinding flashes of cameras. Ty didn't say a word, his jaw tight, his eyes hidden behind dark shades. Tiny was sobbing quietly, clutching her phone like it was the only thing keeping her from collapsing. Fans surrounded them, yelling questions, crying, begging for answers. Was the surgery fake? Is King really sick? Why was the FBI there? Ty just kept walking. Inside the Harris mansion later that night, the tension was unbearable. The house that had once been filled with music, laughter, and filming crews for their family reality show was now silent. Tiny sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through her phone, reading the endless flood of hate and disbelief online. Every headline screamed the same thing. King Harris fakes surgery. FBI arrests rapper's son. Medical fraud scandal shocks Hollywood. Ty stood near the window, staring out at the flashing lights from the news vans parked down the street. Finally, he spoke. "They set us up," he said in a low, trembling voice. "Someone inside leaked everything." Tiny looked up, her eyes red. "You think it's one of your people?" "It has to be," he replied. "Nobody outside could have known how we handled things. This ain't random." She threw her phone on the table, tears spilling down her face. "You told me he was safe, Tip. You told me that doctor was real." Ty turned around, frustration boiling over. "He was supposed to be real." "That's what I was told. We paid for a consultation, we signed papers, this whole thing looked official." "And now our son's in jail," she shouted, her voice cracking. "You don't get it? They're saying he staged the whole thing, that you were in on it too." The argument echoed through the house, every word cutting deeper. Upstairs, one of King's siblings quietly closed their door, pretending not to hear. But the truth was, everyone in the family was feeling the weight of the scandal. Meanwhile, across town, King sat in an interrogation room, dressed in a plain gray hoodie. The room was cold, silent except for the faint hum of the fluorescent lights. An FBI agent named Agent Wilkins leaned forward across the table, sliding a folder toward him. "We've been investigating this for weeks, King," the agent said calmly. "We know about the fake records, the staged photos, even the money that was transferred to the so-called surgeon." King leaned back, smirking slightly. "So what, man? You think I planned all that?" "I was sick." Wilkins raised an eyebrow. "Sick? Really?" "Because according to these medical scans, there's nothing wrong with your brain. You didn't have a single procedure done. The so-called doctor who treated you? He doesn't exist." King's smirk faded. He glanced away, tapping his fingers on the table. "That's Cap, bro. I saw him. He was real." "You mean the man your dad's manager paid 50 grand to for a fake consultation?" the agent replied. "We traced the transaction." For the first time, King didn't respond. His eyes darted toward the corner camera, the red recording light blinking steadily. "You see, King?" Wilkins continued, leaning closer. "You could help yourself here. If you cooperate, if you tell us who orchestrated this, we might be able to work something out." King laughed bitterly. "You really think I'm gonna snitch on my own people?" Wilkins sighed. "Then you're going down alone." Back at the mansion, Ty was on the phone with his lawyer, pacing back and forth. "You need to fix this," he said through clenched teeth. "They can't make it look like I'm part of some scam." The lawyer's voice was calm but firm. "Tip, it's bad. They have paper trails, text messages, even video evidence. The doctor you hired is a fraud, and someone made sure all of that is traceable. This isn't just a misunderstanding, it's a setup." "So who's behind it?" Ty demanded. "That's what we're trying to find out," the lawyer replied. "But from what I've seen, this goes beyond you. Someone wanted your son to fall publicly, and they made sure you'd get caught in the crossfire." Ty threw the phone on the couch and rubbed his face in frustration. "They're trying to destroy my family," he muttered. Tiny, who had been standing by the doorway, whispered, "Then who would do something like that?" Ty paused, then said quietly, "Someone who knows how we move. Someone close." The next day, footage leaked of King inside the interrogation room. The clip was only 30 seconds long, but enough to stir a frenzy. In it, King could be heard saying, "I ain't gonna talk, man. Y'all know this was bigger than me." The internet erupted again. Bloggers claimed the clip proved that King was covering for someone else, possibly T.I. himself. Others speculated that the entire fake surgery plot was a scheme to dodge a massive tax investigation involving T.I.'s business ventures. On social media, fans were divided. Some defended King, saying he was being framed, that the system was targeting him because of his family name. Others turned on him completely, accusing him of lying, manipulating sympathy, and disrespecting real patients fighting for their lives. One viral tweet read, "While real people are dying, King Harris faked brain surgery to get attention. He's done." Another replied, "He's young. He made a mistake. Y'all acting like you never lied before." The drama escalated further when a woman claiming to be a former hospital employee came forward in a live interview. Her face was blurred, her voice altered, but her words sent shockwaves through the internet. "King wasn't sick," she said. "He was there for less than 3 hours before they moved him to a private floor. No surgery ever happened. I saw him walking around with his phone. He even ordered food." When asked why the hospital stayed silent for so long, she replied, "Because there was money involved. A lot of money. Someone got paid to make it look real." That clip alone got 10 million views overnight. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Ty received a mysterious text message from an unknown number. It read, "You wanted to protect him, but you played right into our hands." Attached was a blurred photo of King from weeks ago, meeting with someone in a parking garage. T's heart sank. He knew this was deeper than a scandal. It was a setup, and whoever was behind it was watching their every move. He immediately called his lawyer again. "We're being watched," he said. "Someone's feeding information to the feds," the lawyer replied. "You need to keep quiet, Tip. Don't say anything on camera. This isn't just a case anymore, it's a takedown." But keeping quiet was impossible. Social media was tearing the family apart. King's siblings were getting harassed online, their school friends recording videos mocking the situation. Fans outside the mansion chanted, "We want the truth!" and paparazzi camped on their street day and night. Tiny broke down during a private call with her mother. "I don't even recognize our lives anymore," she whispered. "Everything we built, everything we showed the world, it's gone. They're calling us liars." As night fell, Ty sat alone in his studio, scrolling through old videos of King performing freestyle raps, laughing, talking big about being the next generation of the Harris legacy. Now those same clips were being edited into cruel montages online, painting him as a fraud. Then, out of nowhere, a new report aired on television. The host claimed that new evidence linked King's fake surgery to a hidden bank account offshore, with connections to a company registered under T's name. The host said, "This may be the smoking gun that ties the entire cover-up to T.I. himself." The music in the background grew tense. The video cut to images of Ty performing on stage, then to footage of King being handcuffed. The internet lost its mind again. Comments flooded in. Did T.I. help fake the surgery? Was this about money? What is really happening inside the Harris family? And as the world demanded answers, Ty's phone buzzed again, with another text from the same unknown number. This one said, "If you want the truth, come alone." 3 a.m., old studio downtown. "You'll find what you're looking for." Ty stared at the screen, heart pounding. The decision he was about to make would change everything. The clock on the wall ticked past 2:30 in the morning as T.I. sat in his car outside the old studio downtown. The area was dark and abandoned, the kind of place where no one asked questions. Rain drizzled lightly against the windshield, and the glow from a nearby street lamp flickered every few seconds. He stared at the text message again. "If you want the truth, come alone." 3 a.m. He had told no one where he was going, not even Tiny. Every instinct screamed that it could be a trap. But the desperation to protect his son was stronger than fear. At exactly 3, he stepped out of the car. His footsteps echoed on the wet pavement as he approached the building. The studio door was unlocked, creaking open with a sound that made his chest tighten. Inside, everything was covered in dust. Old speakers, tangled wires, broken mics. He walked deeper into the darkness until he heard a voice behind him. "You shouldn't have come alone, Tip." Ty froze. The voice was familiar. Low, smooth, and taunting. He turned around slowly and saw a man step out from the shadows. It was a former business associate of his, someone he had cut ties with years ago after a bad investment deal went wrong. The man smirked, holding a small flash drive between his fingers. "You looking for answers?" he asked. "They're all right here." Ty clenched his fists. "What is this?" "What do you want from my family?" The man chuckled. "What I've always wanted, payback. You remember when you pulled out of that project and left me broke? You thought I'd just disappear. Well, I didn't. I've been watching, waiting for the perfect moment." He tossed the flash drive toward Ty. "That contains everything. The fake doctor, the money trail, the bribes. But it's not what you think. It wasn't your son's idea. Someone set him up." Ty stared at the small piece of plastic in his hand. "Who?" the man smiled. "Someone inside your circle. Someone who wanted to hurt you from within." Before Ty could ask more, headlights appeared through the broken window. Black vans screeched to a stop outside. The man's expression changed instantly. "You brought company?" "I didn't," Ty said quickly, backing away. "You lying," the man hissed, pulling out a gun. "They followed you here." In a matter of seconds, red and blue lights flashed outside. The sound of boots and shouting echoed through the walls. Ty ducked behind a table as agents burst in through the front door, yelling, "FBI, drop your weapon!" Gunfire cracked through the air. Ty hit the ground, covering his head. When it was over, the man was gone, vanished into the chaos. One agent grabbed Ty, handcuffing him on the spot. "You're coming with us." "Mr. Harris," the agent said coldly. Back at the FBI office, Ty sat in another interrogation room, exhausted, covered in dust and sweat. Agent Wilkins entered, holding the same flash drive that had been thrown at him. "You know what's on this?" Wilkins asked. "You tell me," Ty replied, his tone sharp. Wilkins inserted the drive into a laptop. On the screen appeared files, emails, wire transfers, and even video footage. One clip showed the fake doctor meeting with someone wearing a hoodie. When the hooded figure turned slightly toward the camera, Ty's heart sank. It was someone he recognized, his own manager. Wilkins paused the video and said, "Looks like this guy set up the whole operation, including bribing hospital staff and planting fake documents under your son's name. And guess what? He's been working with someone else. Someone from your business label." Ty felt his stomach twist. "So it wasn't King?" Wilkins sighed. "Maybe not entirely. But he played along. He knew more than he admitted." Meanwhile, back at the Harris mansion, Tiny was falling apart. News had broken that Ty had been taken in for questioning. Cameras lined the driveway, and reporters were shouting through the gates. Tiny sat on the floor in the living room, clutching a photo of King as a child. Tears rolled down her face as she whispered, "Please, God, just bring them both home safe." King, now back in a holding cell, had finally started realizing the gravity of the situation. The smirk was gone. His hands trembled as he replayed everything in his head. The fake doctor, the cameras, the plan that was supposed to keep him safe, but had turned into a nightmare. He thought about his father, about how everything was falling apart because of him. The door opened, and Agent Wilkins stepped in again. "You ready to tell the truth now?" King looked up, defeated. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," he said quietly. "I just needed to disappear for a while. They said they could make it look like I was sick. They told me it would buy me time." "Who's they?" the agent asked. King hesitated, eyes darting to the camera. "People close to my dad. They said he owed them money. They said if I didn't do it, they'd come for us." Wilkins leaned forward. "Give me names." King swallowed hard. "His manager and someone else, a woman. She said she worked for the label." When Wilkins left the room, he made a quick call. "We've got confirmation." The kid's flipping. "Move on the suspects immediately." Within hours, raids began across Atlanta. The FBI hit several offices linked to T.I.'s record label, seizing computers, hard drives, and documents. By dawn, 2 people were in custody: the manager and a financial officer who had allegedly orchestrated the payments. The story spread like wildfire. News anchors reported that the Harris scandal was part of a larger scheme involving money laundering and false insurance claims. As Ty was released later that morning, he walked out of the FBI building to a swarm of reporters. Microphones were shoved in his face, flashes blinding him, but he didn't speak. He just kept walking, silent and broken. Tiny was waiting in the car, her eyes swollen from crying. She reached out to touch his hand. "Did they charge you?" she whispered. He shook his head. "Not yet, but they got who did this. What about King?" "They're still holding him," Ty replied softly. "But he's talking now. He told them everything." Tiny exhaled shakily, leaning her head on the window. "We're never coming back from this, are we?" Ty stared ahead. "We'll try." Later that afternoon, social media went into overdrive again. Video clips of the FBI raids flooded every platform. Commentators picked apart every detail, from the suspect's mugshots to T.I.'s exhausted face as he left custody. Fans started speculating about the mysterious woman King mentioned. Some claimed it was a former assistant of T's who had been fired months ago after accusing him of financial misconduct. Others believed it was a rival label executive trying to destroy his empire from within. The internet turned the scandal into a circus. Memes, reaction videos, conspiracy theories. It became the biggest entertainment story of the year. Every influencer had an opinion. Every podcast dissected the case like a thriller. But behind closed doors, the reality was grim. King faced several charges, and although he was cooperating, the damage to his reputation was irreversible. T and Tiny barely spoke. The once lively family home now felt like a prison. One night, Ty walked into King's empty room. The bed was still unmade, the posters on the walls untouched, a reminder of the boy he used to be before the fame, before the chaos. Ty sat on the edge of the bed, running his hand across a microphone lying on the nightstand. He whispered, "You just wanted to be seen, huh, son? And now the whole world's watching." He stood up, looking out the window at the flashing lights still camped outside the gates. His phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. This time it said, "Don't think this is over. There's more you don't know. Check the flash drive again." T's heart sank. He turned toward his desk, where the FBI had returned the flash drive after copying its contents. Something told him the nightmare wasn't finished. He plugged it into his laptop and opened a new folder labeled Truth. Inside was a single video file titled Operation King. He clicked play. The footage began with a timestamp from 2 weeks before King's supposed surgery. It showed a meeting inside a recording studio. King was sitting there, surrounded by 2 men and a woman, all in hoodies. One of them said, "Once this hits the blogs, no one will question it. All we need is the photo, the IV, the bandages. After that, you're off the radar. Your dad will think you're safe and we get what we came for." King nodded slowly. "And what's that?" The woman replied. His silence. The screen went black. Ty sat frozen, his breathing heavy. Whoever had orchestrated this wasn't just after money. They wanted to silence him. Something bigger was behind it all, and it wasn't over yet. As thunder rolled outside and rain hit the glass, Ty whispered to himself, "What did we get caught up in?" And somewhere downtown, the same man who had escaped the FBI raid stood on a rooftop speaking into a phone. "He found the video," he said. A distorted voice replied, "Good. Now let the real story begin." Ty sat in silence for a long time, the video still playing on loop on his laptop screen. The flickering images reflected in his eyes as he tried to piece everything together. Each line, each word in that recording felt like a stab to his chest. Someone close to him had used his son, used his family's name, to pull off something much darker than just a fake surgery. It wasn't about clout. It wasn't about escaping charges. It was about silencing Ty. But why? Tiny walked into the room, her eyes red from crying. "Tip," she whispered softly. "You haven't slept in 2 days. You need to rest." Ty looked up at her, his voice low and tired. "They set us up from the start, babe." "This wasn't about King. This was about me." "What do you mean?" she asked, sitting beside him. He turned the laptop toward her and played the clip again, the one where the woman said, "Your dad will think you're safe, and we get what we came for." His silence. Tiny covered her mouth as she watched. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Who are they talking about?" Ty sighed. "That woman in the video. I know her voice." Tiny looked at him in disbelief. "You do?" "Yeah," he said slowly. "She used to work with me. Her name's Kendra. She handled contracts for one of our smaller label deals a few years ago. She disappeared after we caught her stealing. I thought she was gone for good. So she came back for revenge? Tiny said, her voice trembling. Looks like it, Ty replied. But she's not working alone. Whoever that man is, the one who called me to the studio, he's connected to something bigger. I can feel it. Tiny grabbed his hand. You can't handle this on your own, Tip. The FBI is already watching us. If you try to dig deeper, they'll think you're covering something. I'm not letting this go, Ty said firmly. They used my son as bait. They made him think he was protecting himself, but they were just using him to get to me. I'm finding out who's behind this. While Ty was trying to figure out the truth, King was sitting alone in his cell, staring at the small window where light barely slipped through. His mind replayed every moment from the last few weeks. The promises, the fake doctor, the staged hospital room. Everything had been a lie. He thought he was getting help, but he'd been manipulated. He had wanted to prove to everyone that he wasn't just T's son, that he could make his own name. Instead, he'd become a pawn in someone else's game. He closed his eyes and whispered, Dad, I'm sorry. Later that evening, Ty received a call from Agent Wilkins. His tone was tense. Mr. Harris, we've been reviewing new evidence, and it looks like there's another layer to this case. That woman you mentioned, Kendra, we've been tracking her. She's on the run, and she's not alone. There's a connection to an underground network. People who use fake medical operations to launder money through hospitals. Ty froze. So this goes beyond us? Way beyond, Wilkins said. You and your son were just the public face. They used your fame to make the scam look legitimate. So what do we do now? Ty asked. You help us, Wilkins replied. We need your cooperation. You know these people. You know how they move. You could help us shut this whole thing down. Ty hesitated for a long moment, then said, Fine, whatever it takes. The next few days became a blur. The FBI set up a sting operation using Ty as bait. He agreed to meet with one of the remaining suspects, a contact who claimed to know where Kendra was hiding. Everything was wired, every movement tracked. The meeting was set in an old parking structure downtown. As Ty arrived, the tension in his chest was unbearable. He stepped out of the car and waited. Minutes felt like hours until a voice echoed from behind a pillar. You really came alone again, huh? It was Kendra. She stepped out slowly, wearing a black hoodie, her face half covered by a mask. You just don't know when to quit, do you? T clenched his jaw. Why'd you do it? Why go after my son? Because you ruined me, she snapped. You think you can build empires, walk away, and forget the people you stepped on to get there? You left me broke. I had to survive, so I found people who knew how to make money off fame. Yours. You could have come to me, Ty said. You didn't have to destroy my family. She laughed bitterly. You wouldn't have listened. But don't worry, it's almost over. Before Ty could respond, black vans screeched into the lot. Agents poured out, shouting commands. Kendra tried to run, but they surrounded her. Wilkins himself appeared, yelling, Hands in the air! She froze, glaring at T one last time before being taken down. The sting was over, but the damage was permanent. Kendra and her partners were arrested on multiple charges: conspiracy, fraud, money laundering, and falsifying medical documents. Within hours, the news broke nationwide. Every headline screamed about the FBI bust that had uncovered an entire underground operation. For the first time in weeks, Ty could breathe. A few days later, King was released from custody. The footage of him walking out of the detention center went viral instantly. His head was low, his eyes red, but Ty was there waiting. They didn't say much, just hugged tightly, both of them holding on as if they might lose each other again. Fans online called it the moment of redemption, but for the Harris family, it was just the beginning of rebuilding. Back at home, the house was quiet again. No reporters, no sirens, no cameras. Tiny was cooking dinner for the first time in weeks. The smell filled the air, warm and comforting. King sat across from his dad at the table. I messed up bad, he said softly. Ty looked at him and shook his head. Nah, son, you trusted the wrong people. But that's how you learn. The world ain't always what it seems. King nodded slowly. I just wanted to make a name for myself, you know? I didn't want to be in your shadow. Ty smiled faintly. You already got your own name. You just gotta protect it. For a moment, it felt like peace had returned. But deep down, I knew the scars wouldn't fade easily. Their family's reputation had taken a hit that might never fully heal. Yet, in that quiet kitchen, surrounded by love and the smell of food, they were together. And that was enough for now. Outside, the city buzzed with new headlines, new scandals, new distractions. But for Ty and King, this wasn't just another story. It was a lesson carved into their lives forever. And then, late that night, as Ty was scrolling through his phone, a notification popped up from an unknown account. It was a video file. He hesitated, then clicked it. The screen flickered, and there was Kendra, sitting in a dimly lit room, handcuffed, speaking directly into the camera. Her voice was calm, almost mocking. You think it's over, Tip? You think locking me up changes anything? You still don't know who funded all this. You're just scratching the surface. The people behind me, they're watching. And they're not done. The video ended abruptly. Ty sat frozen, staring at the dark screen. His heart raced as the reality sank in. The storm wasn't over. There were still secrets buried deeper than he ever imagined. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky again, and lightning illuminated the city. Ty looked out the window, whispering to himself, "Whatever comes next, we'll be ready." And somewhere far away, another phone buzzed in a dark office. A man picked it up, watched the same video, and smiled. "Phase 2 begins now," he said quietly, before the screen faded to black. And that, folks, is where the story takes its final twist. Or maybe not. Because if there's one thing we've learned from this entire King Harris saga, it's that nothing is ever what it seems. The shocking arrest in the ICU, the fake brain surgery, the hidden conspiracies. Every piece of this puzzle feels like it's leading to something even bigger. The FBI may have closed one case, but the unanswered questions are louder than ever. Was King really just a victim caught in someone else's game? Or did he know more than he let on? Was he targeted for his fame? Or is there a darker truth the family's still hiding? And what about that final message? Phase 2 begins now. Who's pulling the strings behind the scenes? And what could they possibly want next? The world is still watching. Fans are still speculating, and the internet refuses to let this story die. Even now, new clips are surfacing, new leaks are spreading, and insiders claim the investigation isn't over yet. One thing's for sure, this drama has changed everything for the Harris family. But what do you think really happened? Was King framed, or was he part of something he couldn't control? Drop your theories in the comments below. We want to hear what side you're on. Don't forget to hit that like button if you've been following the madness from the start. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next update. Because trust me, if Phase 2 is real, the next chapter is going to be even crazier. Stay tuned because this story is far from over.